Hey, this is Paula from the Afford Anything podcast. Every other week, I answer questions that come from you alongside my buddy, the former financial planner, Joe Saul-Sehy. We are about to answer a question from an anonymous caller. But first, Joe and I, of course, need to give this anonymous caller a name. Here we go. Our final question today comes from an anonymous caller.
Oh, ho, ho. Are we back to movies?
Yeah, let's go back to movies. Joe, you should name this caller.
Okay, I will. We just went and saw another Marvel movie. And I have to say, if you are hanging out with us and you're sick of Marvel movies, so am I. But Paula, it was a random Tuesday. There was nothing going on. And so Cheryl and I picked up, we went to the Cinemark and we watched this 2.5-hour movie called Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3. And
Have you seen parts 1 and 2?
I did. 1 was really good. 2 was really bad. I felt like that with most of the Marvel movies. I felt like the early ones were pretty good. The ones lately have been all over the place and messy and not great. But Part 3 was so good. And it was about friendship and having your friends' backs and giving and togetherness. And it was just, it had such great themes. I really liked it. It was a little long, but it was well worth it. Of course, Guardians of the Galaxy, also known for really good music. So I got to tap my feet all the way through as I watched the movie on discount day. Tuesday afternoon, by the way, is discount day. So we got in for
Joe's stacking coupons, movie coupons on top of popcorn coupons on top of discount day.
It was seriously at our local theater. It was $5 for the movie. And then it was only $87.50 for a popcorn.
Right. And then when you came out, your car had been towed.
That's right. But a wonderful actress who's in that. I am also watching a series on Netflix called From Scratch, where she goes to Florence, which, oh my goodness, just the visuals of Italy, Paula, make me just want to go back right now. Let's get on a plane. Let's go to Italy right now. But her name is Zoe Saldana, and she's in Guardians of the Galaxy, and she's in From Scratch, another show I really like. So let's call her Zoe.
All right, Zoe. Well, then our final question today comes from Zoe.
Hi, Paula. I recently started working with a financial advisor who recommended that I invest in indexed universal life insurance, and I'd love your take on whether this is a smart move. My background, I'm a single 41-year-old woman. I'm not married, and I do not plan to have children. I have a base salary of about $185,000, and my annual bonus can range from $50,000 to $80,000 before taxes, depending on the year. I bought a home in 2020. It's currently valued at about $675,000 with roughly $317,000 left on a 20-year mortgage. I regularly contribute to a brokerage account that has about $162,000 in it. It's a mix of individual stocks and funds, and I have about $30,000 of cash sitting in that brokerage account uninvested at the moment. I have a Roth IRA that I no longer contribute to, but that's at $92,000. A traditional IRA at around $40,000 that I do contribute to. And my 401k through my employer is valued at about $400,000 at the moment. Outside of the mortgage, I don't have any debt, though I am thinking through how best to fund a $40,000 home improvement project this year. My primary financial goal is to make work optional by age 50. I'm not sure whether this will be feasible, but it's what I'm shooting for. I've recently started saving and investing 50% of my income to help me get there. Given that goal, my advisor suggested that IUL would help me access cash to bridge the gap before age 65. We modeled this out high level with an annual $35,000 contribution, but I'm not exactly sure what the right investment amount would be. I also assume I'll continue to contribute to my other accounts, although possibly less. The information that the advisor provided is compelling, limited to no downside risk with a floor at 0%, great upside potential as I'm looking at an option that comes with a spread. But I'm not really familiar with this vehicle, and some of it sounds a little bit too good to be true. the articles I found online mention high fees and more risk. So I'd love your take on whether this is a decent option and how you'd approach it in a similar situation. Thank you so much for all you do to keep this community inspired and informed. I'm very grateful.
Zoe, thank you for the question. And first and foremost, huge congratulations to you on how beautifully you are managing your money. You are saving and investing 50% of your income in order to reach your goal of making work optional by age 50. And I love the phrasing and the framework of that, make work optional. You've done an amazing job of saving money into retirement accounts, your Roth IRA, your traditional IRA, your 401k, your taxable brokerage account, and you have a massive amount of equity in a home that you bought relatively recently, right? You bought your home in 2020, which means you have a locked-in low rate on a 20-year mortgage. You've already got more than 50% equity in it. So congrats to you on the focus that you've put on building investments, building equity, and getting closer and closer to that dream of making work optional in 9 years.
And I think she has done a great job, Paula. I'm with you, which is why I think it's going to be really important that she gets this right, because that is an incredibly aggressive goal.
Right.
And, in the FIRE community, I think people talk about, age 50. How cute. I'm going to do it at 45 or age 40. And you look at
like
the
a pissing contest. Yeah.
Right. But you look at the number of people that retire at 40 and actually stay retired. It's one thing to say you did it. It's another thing to actually do it and be able to do it forever. So I love that work optional at 50 goal, but it is aggressive and you've done all kinds of great stuff. So I think the first thing I would suggest is that you want to consider firing your advisor. And by the way, it's not because this is a bad recommendation. It is a bad recommendation, but it's because you trust him or her little enough that you wanted to run it by us. And I just think if you've got great people in your corner who you know that you have their back or they have your back, that second opinion, yeah, okay, I get it. But I think she's aware. I think Zoe's aware that there's something that just doesn't seem right here.
Well, I agree she should fire her advisor. I disagree on the reason, because I do think that even if you have a high degree of trust in your advisors, it's wise due diligence to stress test their recommendations, to get second opinions, third opinions, fourth opinions, to trust but verify.
I agree. She said she already did that, though. She said that she had already read articles and she's still unsure. So then she calls us. So, maybe. I just think I want to make sure the people are in my corner. So here's the deal. When you put money into a life insurance policy, the first thing you have to consider is that you're buying life insurance. There is going to be the cost of insurance that's attached to that strategy. And so she's adding friction, Paula, just through that aspect. Now, the cool thing that the advisor will tell you is that this type of a life insurance policy, you put money in and then you can take money out tax-free. I'll bet the advisor even said the same thing you'll see in these TikTok videos from people that tell you half the truth, which is that you can then borrow money that you'll never have to repay, which also can be true, but is a half truth. I think that this, again, almost like we talked about with Margaret, Paula, it can work, but it is so convoluted. And also, just to get into it a little bit, if I was going to use this strategy, I would want there to be a reason for the insurance, number one. Zoe said she is single, 41 years old, doesn't have anybody else that relies on her for income. I didn't hear, did you hear a reason to have life insurance?
No, it doesn't sound as though she has any dependents or...
I didn't hear that. So neither of us heard that, but not a deal killer, by the way. This strategy, if you've significant enough streams of money and you need more tax shelters, can be a decent next place to go after you maximum fund your 401k, maximum fund anything that is easily available out there for the average person. And you still have gobs of money taking some of it and sheltering it in a life insurance policy can still be okay. But if she's going to do that, Paula, I would then use a life insurance policy that just has straight up mutual funds inside of it. Because if you're going to try to do something like retire at age 50, getting the upside of more growth is what you should be emphasizing. She needs growth on top of growth on top of growth on top. She needs that stuff. This stuff has to grow a lot. And by choosing an indexed product, she's actually cutting herself off at the knees, because what's neat about this policy, supposedly, and Zoe mentioned this, is that the chance of loss is 0. That sounds really cool, but you have to know that when the chance of loss is 0, they take away your participation on the top level. So notice whenever you hear these people on TikTok talk about these index products, they say, hey, you can, quote, participate in the market. They'll use the term participate. You can participate in upside of the market and it'll never go down. Study after study after study shows that all these products, if you would have just invested in the market and been a little okay with the fact that I'm not going to touch this for a long period of time, and there will be a roller coaster between now and the time I touch it, I'm going to grow this so much more than if I pay for the floor by letting them cap that. That's what, when Zoe talked about a spread, they're giving her a spread so that she's able to get between 1 on the bottom, which ostensibly 0, and a number on top. If the stock market does, let's say the stock market does 12%, maybe she gets 6 or 7%, whatever. The insurance company is going to keep the rest. So it is a complex strategy. Number 2, it is, even inside of this complex strategy, I think it's the wrong strategy. If you're going to go complex, I'd use one that doesn't have that floor. I would use one that just has mutual funds inside of it. Number 3 is, the advisor said, hey, this is a great product to use if you want money pre-59.5. If you want money before you're able to get it from traditional 401k accounts, for example, traditional IRA accounts, for example. There's another product that does that. A tax-efficient mutual fund inside a brokerage account.
I knew you were going to say taxable brokerage account.
A taxable brokerage account.
It's like your favorite account.
Well, here's the thing, Paula. I mean, the taxes that people are going to pay are overstated by insurance. Oh, you're going to pay tax every year on that, even if you don't spend. Yes, you will. And I want you to calculate out what that tax would have been every year for the last 10 years and compare it to the cost of insurance. Because the cost of insurance for most people is going to be much higher than the friction of the little bit of tax you're going to pay and have that money available whenever you damn well want it, without having to beg an insurance company and without having a whole strategy maybe collapse because you did it wrong.
Right.
I just want to call Vanguard and go, give me my cash. Thank you. Hang up. I have my money. It's done. It's beautiful. It's simple. It's beautiful. It's done. It is overly complex for not a lot of upside. I've used this strategy before that she's talking about. I didn't use a UIL. No, I think that ruins the strategy. But I also loved it much better if there was some reason for the insurance on top of it. And if the goal wasn't this aggressive, Paula, I think the goal being this aggressive means you can't get rid of your opportunities for growth. And that's also what this does.
You know, I'm curious about the goal, because if the goal is make work optional in 9 years, my question is, how rigid is that goal? You know, 50 is a nice round number. It's a good number to aim for. But some people, when they set goals, they strictly mean on the day I turn 50. There are others who might mean, you know, if I hit it at 51, that's fine. This is a pathway that I'm charting rather than a rigid.
Got to do it now.
Right.
Yeah. Zoe's definitely in pot number 2 there. I mean, I feel like, based on her question, when you use the phrase make work optional by, and I'm not sure if I'm going to hit it, but that's what I'm aiming for. I think it is much more flexible.
Right. So then bucket number 1 then. Wait, or 2? Which one did I say first?
I thought you said I got to do it on my birthday, age 50. She's not that bucket. I thought that was
right.
bucket number 1.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
She's
you're
definitely
right.
bucket number 2. Yes.
Yes.
So I'm there with you, which also means, as I sit here and stew on this, which I am, why this advisor is overcomplicating this situation. The IRS gives us rules as well, Paula. If you're not going back to work, your 401k may let you get at the money before 59 and a half. You need to check with the rules on your 401k plan. But if you are full out retiring and not going someplace else, you may be able to get that before 50. Now, money in your IRA, it's 59 and a half. Money in your 401k, that becomes more flexible. Even beyond that, Paula, let's say she can't get it till 59 and a half. The IRS steps in and goes, yes, you can. We've got the SEPP rule, 72T, which, by the way, is a little complicated, but not as complicated as this insurance policy. No, not at all. So Zoe, if you're not putting as much money in your 401k as you can for fear that you won't be able to get it until 59 and a half, check with your HR department and then start exploring rule 72T, which is the SEPP rule. And I think you can set up a strategy to create an income stream that will also help you there. The other place that this life insurance policy does not help is she also mentioned at the end of her call, Paula, she's trying to best fund $40,000 home improvement this year.
Yeah, I noticed that. I thought that was an interesting comment, given she can easily cash flow it.
Putting $35,000 into a life insurance policy goes directly against that.
Right.
Directly against that. It is sad, but I'm with Zoe. These strategies sound so compelling. They sound so awesome. And you know what? For the right person, maybe they are. But I don't think Zoe's case is that case.
By the way, Joe, you mentioned the SEPP 72T. For people who are wondering, what the heck is that?
Yeah. There's different ways to calculate this, but it's a rule where the IRS says you can take money out of your qualified retirement plans before 59 and a half. You have to set up a stream of income. It has to be fairly similar every year. So it has to feel like a yearly payment. It has to go for 5 years or to 59 and a half, whichever is longer. So if she goes at 50, it'll have to go till 59 and a half, that stream of income. Now, you can calculate this a few different ways. So you can calculate it with an inflation rider, which is cool. So you can take a little more out every year as prices go up. You can calculate it as a straight line. I would work with a professional who's done it before because you don't want to get it wrong, but it's a way for you to create that early income stream.
Right, exactly. There are 2 resources that I'll refer you to. One is a podcast episode that we did, and actually the show notes, I'm looking right now at the show notes for this episode, and it's long. Like, this reads like a full-on, fairly detailed article. And that is episode 94, affordanything.com/episode 94. I'm going to put that in the show notes for today's episode. Mad Fientist also did a really beautiful visual depiction of how the SEPP 72T process works, beginning with contributing to pre-tax retirement accounts, then retiring, then transferring your employer's accounts to your traditional IRA, then making that determination, Joe, like what you were talking about. Do you want to do fixed amortization? Do you want to do RMD? Do you want to do fixed annuity? Like, what calculation method suits your scenario best? Then making those withdrawals and continuing for 5 years or until you turn 59 and a half. So it's a visual that takes something that's quite complicated and that doesn't easily lend itself to visuals and makes it simple to understand at the high level. So we'll link to that in the show notes as well. I really appreciate people who can tell complicated financial stories with beautiful and simple visuals. That's a true skill and service. So the show notes for today's episode are going to be quite robust.
Bam.
So thank you, Zoe, for that question. And in conclusion, not a fan of indexed universal life if instead you can use taxable brokerage accounts and SEPP 72T. We haven't mentioned the Roth conversion ladder, but, and I don't want to open up that new can of worms. And Zoe, you have...
Just did.
I know, and I just did. But you know what?
Slow down. We didn't mention. Here we go.
But episode 94, which I've linked to in the show notes, goes into deep detail about the Roth conversion ladder. So I'll refer you to that one. So what'd you think of the answer? Loved it, hated it, liked it? Drop a comment below and let us know. And while you're there, also, I would love your feedback on something. We're trying this new format here on YouTube where we are breaking up our Ask Paula episodes into each individual question and uploading a different video for each question. That way you can go directly to whichever questions fuel your curiosity. So do you like this new format? Did you like it better when we were running the full Ask Paula episodes? Leave a comment, let me know. But if you're a new viewer, then that just didn't make any sense. Don't worry about it. But for our longtime viewers, listeners, you'll notice the format change. So let me know what you think. Do you like us running these as each separate individual question, or did you like it better when we ran the full Ask Paula episodes? Drop a comment, let me know. Thank you so much for being part of this community, and I will catch you in one of the other questions.